We're gonna swim, bike, and run in the corner sun. We're gonna swim, bike, and run in the corner sun. 2021.
Poncho Man, bringing it like only he can. Again, this is Breakfast with Bob, not quite Kona edition. My name is Bob Babbitt. We are brought to you by Challenge North America, Hoka One One, Credo Tri, Amp Human, VeloFix, Four Seasons, Huala Live, Norma Tech, Form Goggles, UCAN Canyon Bikes, and of course, our Challenged Athletes Foundation. Our next guest, one of our favorite people in the world, Mr. Chris Kostman, the main man behind Badwater. Chris, how you doing?
It's good to be here, Bob. Good to see you. And I love that backdrop in Hawaii. And I look forward to seeing all those triathletes back out there again next fall.
Well, and you were part of when we did Ironman Revisited and went back there in like 08, 09 era. We went back.
No, further back.
Was it further than that?
02 through 07.
Was that when it was? Oh my God. I am getting so old. We went back to Oahu where the Ironman started, and we did the Ironman the original way. You had your own support crew.
Yeah.
And you, no aid stations, no roads blocked off.
No.
And you wore your Hawaiian shirt and the Detroit Tigers hat because you were a big Magnum PI fan.
Absolutely. I still am.
That's so cool.
Yeah, those were great. Those were great adventures. I was there for the first time the Ironman was ever held again.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
Obviously Badwater, you were close to putting Badwater on. It was, how close were you to event day when you were told you couldn't put it on?
It was 10 days out. July of this year, we were en route, after jumping through so many hoops and making all kinds of different plans. And of course, losing a third of our field because they lived overseas and can't travel here, but we were still going to have our race up until 10 days out. And then Inyo County had their first spike in cases and they got cold feet, and the tide turned, and that was that. And we had to pull the plug on the world's toughest foot race just 10 days before it happened.
And for people who are new to Badwater, give a quick description of the event and what it takes to complete Badwater.
Well, the Badwater 135 is a 135 mile or 217 kilometer ultra marathon running race that starts in Death Valley at Badwater Basin, 280 feet below sea level, the lowest point in North America. And then they run over 3 mountain ranges to the end of the road on Mount Whitney, the tallest mountain in the lower 48. And so it's a 135-mile invitational foot race. We take 100 runners, usually representing 20 to 25 American states and 20 to 25 foreign countries. And they have 48 hours to complete it in order to earn the coveted holy grail of ultra running, the Badwater 135 belt buckle.
And it's the coolest thing. I went out there to cover it one year. My car blew up. I don't know how the runners freaking get through that thing. People talk about the heat, but at night it gets cold. It drops like
eventually.
In the 40s.
Yeah, when you get up in the latter part of the course, it's definitely cold. I mean, in Death Valley, it's still going to be 90 to 100 degrees at night. But people forget that they leave Death Valley at mile 59. They still have one more hot valley to climb through. But then after that, you're getting into higher desert and then finishing at 8,360 feet on Mount Whitney. And so it gets cold. We've had rainstorms. We've had flash floods. We've had swarms of locusts. We've had forest fires at the finish line. We've had all of the biblical plagues that can happen. And then this year, COVID.
Oh my God, you've had it all. And over the years, you've expanded beyond just Badwater. Talk about, you got Badwater Cape Fear, you've got Badwater Salton Sea. Talk a little about all the events that you're putting on now.
Well, after putting the race on out in Death Valley at Mount Whitney for over a decade, it was really clear that the event was like a big family reunion for people. And it was also an opportunity for the new people to meet these superstars that they'd been seeing in the media over the years and reading about and following online. And so I expanded to have multiple races under the Badwater banner. And what they have in common, besides me directing them and them being produced by Adventure Corps, is they have really challenging route in a really beautiful location they probably wouldn't normally go to. And then they have the whole esprit de corps of the Badwater family. And so in 2014, I started Badwater Salton Sea in further south in Southern California, which is an 81-mile ultra from the Salton Sea, which is also below sea level, to the top of Palomar Mountain in North County, San Diego. And that one's unique in that it's a team ultra where you either enter with a 2 or 3 person team and you run together. So it's not a relay, it's a team ultra. And then a year later, I started Badwater Cape Fear. Cape Fear is on the southeast corner of Bald Head Island, North Carolina. And besides the fact that it has just a totally cool name, it's also a very dramatic location. You can only get to the island on a ferry. And that race features a maritime forest trail and a lot of beach running along the Frying Pan Shoals. And so that's what we call our Beast Coast race. And so, yeah, we've got a 3-event series here in the US now. And, you know, there are people who do all 3, of course, in 1 year. That's called the Badwater Ultra Cup. We'll have 10 to 20 people each year taking that on. But it's just great to see the Badwater family get together more than 1 time per year, and also have more places where everyone can get together or join the family. We get a lot of first-time ultra runners, honestly, at our Badwater Cape Fear race, who are just thrilled to be in a Badwater event as their first ultra marathon. And then ultimately, many of them will participate in the other events and get involved. You know, becomes like a year-round lifestyle.
So with COVID, obviously a lot of people are going with virtual.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that you're going Badwater 267 virtual race. So you're basically putting everything together.
Right. So we have the 51-mile Cape Fear, the 81-mile Salton Sea, and then the 135-mile Badwater 135. You put those together, you get 267 miles. I wanted to be sure that if we moved into the virtual space, that we did something that was true and authentic to the Badwater brand, something that couldn't be perceived as watering it down or anything like that. And also that showcased all of our events and, you know, brings people together in a different way. And so, you know, we still have a great challenge, and we still have the Badwater family, and I'm really going to be hands-on involved. And as the runners progress, you know, this event we're talking about starts on New Year's Day, January. It's the whole month of January. So the runners have 31 days to run or walk or hike or crawl 267 miles and log it through the website we're using. And yeah, it's going to be really exciting. And I already have over 150 people registered.
Look at that, huh?
Yeah.
We just chatted.
And a lot of them are new to the world of Badwater.
Yep.
And I've gotten, you know, sort of like with Cape Fear, I didn't quite anticipate when I launched it that it would really be kind of like a gateway into the world of Badwater. And people are coming in, even doing our 50K or the main 51-mile race, and they're just thrilled to be part of Badwater. And this is what's happening now with this virtual event. And what I really like about it is that it's not just, okay, do the miles and, you know, log it if you feel like it. We have a Facebook event page for it where people are coming together. And then also, as the runners progress along the route, they'll be receiving little updates when they hit all the various landmarks of each of the 3 race courses. They'll get a virtual trophy on the website, and then they'll get an email saying, congratulations, you've reached this point. And then every one of those several dozen updates and landmarks will have a link to a story, a video, a photo, an interview, something from each of the 3 different races. And so it'll really, you know, bring the different courses to life so that people can really kind of envision being there and enjoy that and learn new things. And I've got a lot of material that people have never seen before that they'll see for the first time as they progress through Badwater 267 VR.
I just love anytime you do something like that. I understand the concern about watering it down. You know, you don't want somebody saying, hey, I got a belt buckle in my living room. You know? But at the same time, you're bringing all these new people in who
Yeah.
don't know the Badwater brand, who now are going to be connected not only to the Badwater brand, but to your sponsors and
Yeah.
to the other athletes. I mean, everybody wins at the end of the day. You're getting more.
And Challenge Athletes Foundation and the Bald Head Island Conservancy are two charities. And so some of the runners are donating as they sign up. Some of them have registered to become fundraisers for either Challenge Athletes or the Bald Head Island Conservancy, which is awesome. And also in all of those updates that they'll be receiving from me as they progress along the course, those are other things that they'll be learning about. Our involvement with CAF, which goes back to that first Ironman race in 2002. And with the Bald Head Island Conservancy, we've been involved with since 2014. And so it just brings everything together. And I love every time I get the email saying somebody registered, the first thing I do is I look at, do I know this person and where do they live? You know, and we have people signing up from all over the world. And this is an era in which you can't even travel internationally, but here's a way we can bring people together.
I love it. And so they go to Run Sign Up?
It's at runsignup.com. That's where we're hosting it. Of course, all the info is at badwater.com, but that's where we're hosting it and where they'll log their miles and receive their virtual trophies. They'll also be able to make a virtual bib. So if they want to use that as, you know, their profile pic on social media, they'll be able to make a virtual finisher certificate they could print when they're done. And so I think it's going to be really exciting. And it's a good challenge. You know, 267 miles is 8.7 miles per day. And so it's decent mileage on average. And I recently completed a 100-mile, 10-day virtual race, exploring the Keys 100 route. And that was a good challenge. And I enjoyed it. And it was definitely a push at the end because I started with a 12-mile and a 10-mile on the weekend. But then you get busy during the week and it's like 3 miles, 5 miles. And then all of a sudden you're down to the wire and you're like, oops, I got to do 20.5 miles today to make this. And so I went out on that last day and I did it in 3 different stages of 5 to 7 miles long.
Yeah.
But it was you know, it was a good challenge. And I was like right on the edge, the whole thing of like, oh, I started to get a blister one day. And so I dropped my mileage, but then I got to get it back up. But now this is going to be 31 days, averaging 8.7. But, you know, you can do that in any way you want. You know, you could run 3 miles a day during the week and do long ones on the weekend. You could go out and do 2 miles 4 times a day, really fast and, you know, throw down a quick time. So.
Which makes it fun.
Yeah.
You're do it your way. So everybody, participants will receive a Badwater 267 virtual race medal.
Yeah, they'll look like this.
Oh, look at that. Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Like it.
So that's the logo.
Yep.
That's the medal, and that'll be on the t-shirt.
Yep.
And then there's also a Badwater buff and Badwater sunglasses.
Nice.
Yeah.
And do you have a cutoff in terms of numbers, or will you take as many as?
No, this is, you know, we've thrown the gates wide open. You know, for the first time ever, you don't have to travel to a really remote place or possibly even go through a selection process to get in. I've had people register up to 77 years old. I've got teenagers, you know, they're from all over.
Yeah.
I think roughly, just off the top of my head, half of them are people that are new to the world of Badwater. And a good friend of my family friend from Germany, she messaged me and she's about my age and she usually runs maybe 4 miles several times a week. And she's decided to go for it, even though it's like more than double what she'd normally do, but she's going for it. And, you know, of course it'll be cold in Germany in January, but I mean, you can run on a treadmill or an indoor track, but yeah, it's open to anybody who wants to take it on. And, there'll be a lot of encouragement and support through the Facebook page, as well as all of the updates along the route.
So if we assume that this next year, especially going through spring, that there won't be other events here in California, what are your plans for 2021?
Yeah, it is. It's a crazy situation we're in, and all the other event promoters can relate, at least in states like California where things are really locked down tight. I mean, as you know, some states are still allowing races with various COVID controls in place. Unfortunately, here in California, we've had no guidance from Sacramento, our state capital, about industry specific guidance on how to host an ultramarathon or a triathlon or any type of outdoor sports event with guidelines. I mean,
right.
It's really unfortunate that an industry that brings billions of dollars into the economy and has people traveling and staying in hotels and eating in restaurants and buying lots of gear hasn't been giving any guidance.
Yeah.
And so right now I have no expectation of hosting in-person events in the spring. Not only here, but North Carolina, we've already been told that our Badwater Cape Fear will not be allowed in March. And so I've moved it to an October 2nd date. So that's moving to the fall. My Badwater Salton Sea race hopefully will be April 25 and 26, but that's here in California, and I think it's 50-50, and so I've set a fall date of November 7 to 8. And so that'll be so Cape Fear is definitely going to the fall. Salton Sea probably going to the fall.
Yeah.
The question then becomes, what happens with the world's toughest foot race, Death Valley, in July?
Yeah.
And that's what I'm working on right now, and I actually have a very unique proposal out to the Park Service and the Forest Service regarding that.
Share that. Come on.
Okay, so nobody knows this yet, but this is not live. I'm actually going to be introducing this.
Until you tell me it's okay.
Okay, so this Saturday I'm doing a Facebook Live to announce our plans for 2021 for the Badwater 135. First of all, our goal is still to have the main event with 100 athletes from around the globe competing in July in Death Valley.
Mm-hmm.
So no matter what, I'm still aiming for that, hoping for that. And the runners who were turned away this year will of course have first dibs at entering the race. It's an invitational race. You have to have a lot of credentials to even apply, let alone be selected.
Right.
And so of course they have first crack at July. But what I've proposed as well to the Park Service and the Forest Service, and we were just about, I think, to be approved for this until the new California governor directive came in, which locked down Southern California further. And so now this plan is on hold, but that could expire on December 27. At some point it will expire and we will lift up somewhat out of the current lockdown. So what I've proposed actually is in 2021, every month to host a Badwater 135 for 10 runners.
Wow, that sounds like it's gonna work.
The reason for that is that since there are no industry specific guidelines for endurance sports events, what the Park Service in Death Valley is doing is they're still allowing small groups of 10 or less people, like a cycling tour group can go out there with 10 cyclists. Right. They've been allowing photography workshops with over 40 participants, socially distanced, but they'll spend 3 days visiting different parts of the park doing photography.
Right.
So because that type of thing is still okay, except for right now with the extra tight California guidelines, I thought I could just thread the needle if I come out every month with 10 runners, their support crew, 3 or 4 event staff vehicles, and put on the race just like we would in July. So with all the banners at the start and the finish, all of the caution signage on the highway, GPS trackers on every runner, the timing checkpoints, all of that, and host the race that way. And so that is my goal and plan, is to host the race 12 times.
Oh my God.
In the national park, they require events that go at night to be on or immediately near the full moon. And so we'll be tracking with the full moon all year. There's 12 full moons next year. So we would have 12 races, 10 runners each. And so that's what I'm aiming for. And I think it's super exciting because when people think of the Badwater 135, the first thing they think of is the heat. But as we talked about earlier, it's not always hot out there.
No.
Heat is a big factor, of course, especially for people who aren't used to it, who didn't, prepare for the heat. But you still have an incredibly difficult race course with 3 mountain ranges totaling almost 15,000 feet of climbing, 135 miles of bone-crunching pavement. the competition of the other runners, the eyes of the world watching through the webcast. And so all of that is going to be true whether you're in January or July. But if you come in January, now you're going to be dealing with cold temperatures.
Yes.
You're going to be potentially dealing with snow the last several miles of the course, or possibly even on Town Pass leaving Death Valley. And you're also going to, it's going to be like the race was 30, 40 years ago with just 10 people out there. You're not going to have all these people going back and forth and, you know, people to, you know, chat with and pace off of and all of that. It's going to be much more of a, you know, headspace excursion to see what you can do when you don't have all of that. But so I'm really hoping that, you know, people, and I'm sure we'll have people enter who've got a whole lot of Badwater 135 finishes. And now we can see how does their time compare when they do it when it's 50 or 60 degrees cooler.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I'm announcing this Saturday, and, you know, I'm hoping that we can even put together some themed months. Like maybe 1 month it's only women, or 1 month it's only legends of Badwater, people who've got 5 or 8 or 12 finishes, only they run certain months. And so we can kind of group it together that way. And, you know, and so I think it'll be exciting, and people will be talking about Badwater 135 all year long.
Exactly. And I think the other thing is, you know, you have one race, it's okay, let's get the top ultra guys in the world, top 10, and tell me why you should be selected for this. That can
exactly.
Be, you know,
and so I think it's there's a lot of opportunity here, and of course it's 12 times as much work for me, and 12 times, you know, losing sleep for 2 nights and all of that. But you know what? This is what I do in the world. I organize the world's toughest races. I provide these opportunities for people to do this type of thing, and they, you know, do it for the competition, the physical and mental challenge, to raise money for charity, for all kinds of good reasons. And, you know, why not spread that out through the year?
Absolutely.
And, you know, doing that, you know, this is what I do, and this is how I make a living. And I'm willing to work 12 times harder to make all that happen, because I want to provide this opportunity. It was heartbreaking for me to not host my events this year and to not provide those opportunities for all of these athletes and crew members and staff and sponsors and charities and everybody to be part of it. So this is my goal and hope that we'll be able to do this. I'm still hoping we can even do it in January if we get lifted out of this current level of restrictions in the state. And if not, then we'll have the first one in February or whenever the opportunity arises.
Love it. Hey, Chris, I know that, you know, a lot of times you work on the logistics and everything that, you know, that makes these races go. But you're also one of those guys who appreciates the storytelling that goes on, that comes out of this.
Yeah.
Share with us a story that impacted you from somebody who maybe you thought, there's no way this person's going to get through this thing, and they surprised you and maybe surprised themselves.
Well, honestly, there are so many, Bob. It really, you know, I got into working on events and hosting them because of my own participation in especially ultra cycling races when I was a teenager and in my 20s. And what drew me into the whole thing was the whole overall experience of what I call exploring the inner and outer universes, and the spiritual quest that it can be, and how life affirming it can be, and how these types of events impact your whole life. And so I love putting these events on and then seeing the impact on these people leading up to it, during, after, years later, when I get the emails or the messages saying, thank you, you know, I ran your event 13 years ago and it still means so much to me. And I you know, I wear the buckle, I've got the, you know, this on the wall or this or that, and how it impacts my life. But yeah, when you're out on the course like I am, you know, I'm very hands-on with this race and the athletes and everything. You know, I'm up and down the course for like 20 hours before I go set up the finish line. And then I'm at the finish line for every finisher. And so I get to see really neat and exciting things. One of my most favorite stories from the race was, gosh, about 10 years ago now. We had our lead man, who Jorge Pacheco had won the year before. And one of his crew members, Oswaldo Lopez, was now competing. And On the second major climb of the course, which is called Father Crowley, Jorge was in the lead, but he wasn't feeling well, and he had stopped and he was sitting in his support van on the side of the road. And then I came up from behind and I saw, oh, Oswaldo Lopez is about to catch the race leader, who's not just the race leader, but also the guy he was on the support crew for several times, including last year when he won. So I pull over and I get out my video camera. And in most races, what's going to happen? That guy taking the lead is going to go by with a burst of speed to, you know, kind of demoralize the person they just passed. But instead, my jaw drops, even as the Badwater race director, who I think I've seen it all. Oswaldo runs across the road to the support van to Jorge and insists that he get back out on the course and keep going and go with him. And it was just a really incredible moment. And I was so grateful to not only see it, but to capture it on video. And so, you know, you see that that really, to me, sort of says everything about Badwater. Like, everyone in that race goes through, they have to jump through all these hoops to even qualify and then to be selected. And when they look at one another on the start line, they see peers. They don't see, oh, those three are the ones who can win. You know, they see 100 athletes who all deserve to be there. And they all truly want the other 99 to have the best race ever. Yeah. And I love it. It's just the greatest feeling in the world to be the guy who makes all that happen and just, you know, puts the wheels in motion and then sees it go.
That's awesome, Chris. That's, to me, every one of those people standing at your starting line, their challenge is the course. It's not the guy next to him. It's the course, and it's the conditions, and there's a camaraderie there because they all share that, and they will share it forever.
Yeah, that's why everybody calls it the Badwater family, and it really feels like that. And you know, of course, you know, the people who are out there to win are going to throw it down hard, but they want the other people throwing it down hard too, because, you know, the cream rises and they're going to push themselves, you know, and one another to their best performance. And so whether that's 22 hours or 47 hours and 59 minutes, like they're doing the best they can and they want the best from one another.
Love it. So Chris, best place for people to go, your Badwater website? Yeah,
badwater.com. We've got all 6 of our events on there, and of course all our social media for further updates. And I'm, you know, 2020 has really been a bummer, and but I'm excited for 2021. I'm excited about the virtual events. I'm excited about hopefully having a monthly Badwater 135. I'm excited about seeing what the Cape Fear and Salton Sea courses are like in the fall instead of the spring. You know, I'm excited to see what the athletes and the crew and the staff all do out there. I think 2020 is going to go down in history as a real bummer, but I think 2021 might really overshadow that with its awesomeness. And that's I agree.
I think to a certain degree, a lot of people maybe took racing for granted and like, well, I won't do it this year, I'll do it next year. Now they realize that there's nothing guaranteed. You never know if a race is going to happen again.
Absolutely.
We've seen Wildflower go away. We've seen so many great events this year, and people have to embrace the fact that they have that opportunity.
Absolutely.
Chris, thank you so much for taking time. Congrats on everything you're doing. I'm excited about virtual Badwater 267 virtual race, and I'm excited that CF is one of your charities. Appreciate that.
My pleasure.
All right, Chris Kostman has been our guest. Everybody, again, Breakfast with Bob, not quite Kona edition. Hold on. We will be right back.